What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Today we're going to be taking a look at the CJRB Acacia, and at only $29.99, this is an ultra budget friendly model available on Amazon. I'll make sure to leave a link down in the description of the video in case you're interested in checking this one out. Now they offer this in 3 different handle colors, 2 different blade finishes. So what you see here is the brown FRN with the black PVD coated blade. I absolutely love this color combination. I think it turned out great. But if you prefer the more classic stylings, they do offer it with black FRN and a stonewash blade. Same materials obviously, just different color options. And last but not least, there's a third that I don't actually have, but I do have the pyrite light in the color, so we can see what that color looks like at least. Obviously gonna have the same handles that we see here on the Acacia though, and that is the blue color, and this is kind of what I would describe as almost a slate blue. Absolutely love this shade of blue. You don't see it offered in a ton of knives, so love seeing that here. Obviously, again, you're not going to have this patterning. You're going to have the more geometric shapes that you see on the Acacia, just like the other 2 configurations. Now, the brown is only offered with the PVD coated blade, the black only with the stonewash blade. I suppose you can get both and stonewash them. The blue, on the other hand, they offer with both the stonewash blade or the PVD blade. While I still have this out, probably a good time to mention, these are a very similar size, similar price point to the Acacia, and I feel like if you liked the pyrite light but wish they had made some different choices, that's basically what they did with the Acacia. Anything that they could have changed, they changed, even though these are very similar style knives with the exact same materials. AR-RPM9 on the steel, FRN on the handles. The pyrite light had a Warncliffe style blade, so they swapped that out for a drop point style blade on the Acacia instead of the button lock that we saw on the pyrite light, which a lot of people aren't fans of button locks for one reason or the other. Now they have a crossbar lock on the Acacia, and so both great options. Last but not least, they swapped out that thumb stud for a thumb hole on the Acacia. So really all of the different kind of stylistic choices they could have changed, they did, but otherwise very similar knives. Obviously the patterning is a little bit different on the Acacia handles as well, with again the more geometric shapes there versus the kind of dashed dimples that we saw on the pyrite light. Now in terms of sizing on this Acacia, pretty good size knife at 7.42 inches in overall length, and 4.21 inches of that's focused onto the handle, so plenty of real estate for that full 4-finger grip. Now this is kind of the intended grip, but there is this oversized sharpening choil, which I love to use as a finger choil, and I find this grip to be even more comfortable, just kind of a very natural fit in my hand. The only downside to this grip versus the kind of intended grip for me is that jimping does terminate a little bit earlier on the spine of the blade, so in the natural position you land perfectly on that, but in that kind of creeped up position where I prefer, you're pretty much surpassing that entirely, and no part of my thumbs really land on that jimping. So I wouldn't have minded seeing that jimping extended out to the end of this thumb hole, but pretty minor grievance, especially since I'm kind of carrying it in a non-conventional grip there. And so in terms of the ergos on the handle, they're excellent. In either position, I do find that front forward position a little bit more well balanced, which is why I tend to prefer that. But either way, they feel great. No hot spots whatsoever. There is one thing that kind of I would probably change if it were up to me, and that is the interior portion of these handles are a sharp 90 degrees. I wouldn't have minded seeing some contouring similar to what we see on the exterior of the handle. Now, again, it doesn't create any hot spots. The only way you're really going to feel that is if you tighten down really tight on this. You can kind of feel it, but even then it's not too dramatic. Every once in a while though, when you're sliding your fingers across the spine or across the interior of that handle, it will feel just a little bit sharp. Now, not to the point where it's even a little bit uncomfortable, so definitely a pretty minor gripe. Now, there are some liners in here, but with these FRN handles, you're still going to have just a little bit of flex. That's kind of comes with the territory of FRN. I've never broken a pair of FRN handles, so that's really not something I'm super concerned about, but I know that can be a deal breaker for some. Now, the big plus to that is that these are ultra lightweight. For a 7.42 inch long knife, only weighs 2.68 ounces, so great weight to length ratio there. And then in terms of our blade, we have a drop point style blade, 3.21 inches, and ultra thin. I believe it's probably only about a 0.10 inch blade stock, so ultra thin, nice flat grind on there that is nearly a full. You can see it terminates just a little bit towards the top here in the back half. I guess the front half is a full flat grind there though, and ultra thin and slicey, using their in-house AR-RPM9, great budget steel option there. And the action on this is excellent. So we have the crossbar style lock. It's really well executed, and so requires a decent little flick to get it out of there, but super snappy action. The crossbar lock itself is pretty smooth. It is a little bit on the stiffer side than I'm typically used to, but I would imagine that'll wear in a little bit over time, and that's probably actually going to be pretty nice when it does wear in. So a little bit more effort to pull it back, but incredibly smooth once you do. As you can see, it just kind of bounces down closed and extremely smooth. I would imagine that it is on bearings, although I haven't taken this apart. I would imagine it's on bearings because it feels like that. Really nice access to that thumb hole for either that middle finger flick or to put the meat of your finger, the meat of your thumb into that hole and flick that open. Both are definitely, oops, missed it there. Both are definitely possible with this knife, and so both really great options for deployment. You can also, of course, just use the crossbar lock to flick that open if you prefer, and that works extremely well as well, because both these right out of the box were ultra smooth. Now, in terms of that pocket clip, we have a nice ultra deep carry pocket clip, slides in and out of the pocket really easily. All black hardware on all three or all four configurations, I guess, since the blue has two different blade finishes. So we have all black hardware, which I really enjoy, especially on that lock. And the pocket clip itself is reversible. Nice enough pocket clip, works well. And for such an kind of budget friendly knife, I think this is a really great looking knife. The geometric pattern that they added to the Acacia isn't quite as deep as the dimpling that we see on the Pyrite Lite, but offers a similar level of grip. I think because it's a little bit more of a busy pattern, there's just more gripping surface, although it's not as deep. And so it seems like a pretty similar level of grippiness to it, not super slippery knife by any means, which FRN can be if they don't apply the right type of texturing, but this seems to work really, really well. We also have that lanyard hole over in the back. If you're someone who does like to add a lanyard to your knife, that's kind of my favorite positioning, is that back right corner. Sometimes you see it a little bit more in the middle, and the lanyard will kind of fold itself into the opening and clothing path of the knife, which I'm not a huge fan of, and so do like that placement quite a bit. Overall, I think this is a really, really great budget option, and I think I actually prefer this over the Pyrite Lite. I would imagine the Pyrite Lite's probably the more popular model, just because that's sort of their flagship model, the Pyrite. They've done several configurations and variations of it because it's so popular, but I really enjoy this configuration quite a bit. Love the brown and black pairing as well. The blue and black pairing I think is another great option, but all three are really great. It's great that they offer those options, and we'll love to see actually even more color options offered in the FRN. I like the shades that they use in both the brown and the blue, so I could imagine doing like a green and a red with kind of unique shading would be really cool in these as well. But let me know what you think of these down in the comments below. Of course, I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested in picking one up. Again, $29.99. Great budget option, especially with Christmas around here. I know I often end up with like Amazon gift cards. These are readily available on Amazon, so great way to spend those gift cards. But again, let me know what you think in the comments. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, joining the channel as a member, or checking out some of my other videos. It all helps the channel a ton, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.